Narcissists are masters at rewriting history. That's part of how they gaslight you into thinking that you're the problem and not them. That's why in this video, I wanted to talk through some of their secrets and how they get away with rewriting history, so you can be prepared next time, if there is a next time. Let's get to it. Welcome to the Common Ego community. My name is Christina. On this channel, we talk about emotional abuse, narcissism, and self-development. Today, we're talking about how narcissists rewrite history. And it can be infuriating. But worst of all, it can get you to really doubt yourself. Now, typically, narcissists will not rewrite history in the beginning phase of a relationship. So that is when the narcissist is idealizing you. In this phase, all is good. They're the perfect partner, and they seem to think that you are the perfect mate. It's not until the next phase, devaluation, where this rewriting history starts to come in, because this is when the gaslighting and manipulation starts to come in too. So if you think you might be dealing with a narcissist and you think you might be going through these phases, I have a free download that I'll link to in the description box below with checklists for each phase to help you figure it out. So if you're in that place, I recommend that download. And now let's get to the ways narcissists rewrite history. And the first way is through blame shifting. What they do is they start drama and then they point their finger at you for reacting to their drama. So whatever it is, they're behind it. Either they're triggering you and pushing your buttons, or they're acting in a way that is triggering to you. Maybe they're lying to you and they're acting innocent, like they're not doing anything wrong. It's you're the problem. And they'll do this in the moment, but they will also use this one to rewrite history. So let's say you had an argument with a narcissist and you at the moment did everything in your power to avoid this argument. Because really, who wants to argue with a narcissist? I don't think anyone does. With the circular arguments and the word salad, it's infuriating and it goes nowhere. And you probably know this already. So in this moment, you might have been walking on eggshells to avoid this person's temper, to avoid the seemingly inevitable narcissistic rage. But this narcissist really was just set on making you miserable and fighting and just getting their rage out on you, treating you like a punching bag. And now when you recall this instance and you talk about how you tried to avoid the argument, listen, I really didn't want to argue, they're going to turn it all around on you and say that you were the reason why this fight erupted and they did everything they could to avoid it. The second way narcissists rewrite history is through selective amnesia. And if you've dealt with a narcissist, I know that you've felt at some point like they have some sort of selective amnesia. It's not necessarily that they have a bad memory. It's just whenever certain things come up that they might have to take responsibility for, they just don't remember. Now, there are a lot of ways that this could come up, but I'm going to give you one example that's pretty common. So when a narcissist flies into a rage, which can happen with very little provocation, and it can happen very quickly, so quickly it'll make your head spin. But when they're in this place, they might be a little more honest than usual. They might tell you things that they wouldn't normally tell you just to hurt you. Now, these might be things that they wouldn't own up to normally, and they selectively forget that they ever told you this thing in the first place. Now, the third way that a narcissist will rewrite history is outright lying. Now, a narcissist will lie about anything, especially if it helps them avoid taking responsibility for something. But there are times when a narcissist can't really lie. They're caught red-handed. There's nothing they can say or do to get out of this. And still, even in these situations, some narcissists will hold strong. They will hold on to that lie, even though it's ridiculous, even though nobody believes them. They'll just double down and try to let their confidence lead them through this. But not every narcissist is that confident. So a lot of narcissists, especially the covert or vulnerable type, will maybe accept that they've been caught. Maybe they won't outright admit wrongdoing, but they kind of just slink away into a corner until everybody forgets the thing happened in the first place. But this is what they use to their advantage. So from this point on, they will go on the campaign. They will go on the offensive. And even if they can't sell their lie to you, they will justify themselves and make up a story to tell other people. And they will tell this story so much that they will end up believing it themselves. And that's when you're going to hear it come back around to you. And this one can even be a little bit off-putting because they're so sure that it's the truth that they're telling you. And you know it's a lie, and they know that you know it's a lie. But yet they're so confident. So it kind of throws you off for a minute. So the fourth way that a narcissist will rewrite history is in downplaying their bad behavior. So when a narcissist flies off into a rage, later on, when you try to hold them accountable for the way they behaved, they might say something like, you know what, it wasn't that bad. You're overreacting. You're exaggerating again. Or if they aren't downplaying their bad behavior, they're going to go back to number one and blame shift. So they're going to justify their behavior by saying that it was your fault they acted the way they did. So the fifth way narcissists rewrite history is the flip-flop. And now this is saying one thing and then taking it back. And this happens a lot in relationships with narcissists around the topic of love. So narcissists don't completely understand love. And when they're in the idealization phase, they will tell you that they love you. And they will tell you that very early on. And the truth is they don't love you. They barely know you. But because everything else feels so good and nice, you kind of want to believe it. But then once they start devaluing you, once you are no longer on a pedestal, you're not being idealized anymore, they have to explain that suddenly they don't love you. So they might say something like, yeah, I know I said it, but I didn't mean it, because they couldn't be wrong about loving you. It was just, they just didn't mean it. They thought that that's what you wanted to hear at the time. Or they thought that's what you're supposed to do in a relationship, you know? You get to a certain point and then you just say, I love you. And with a narcissist, that point happens very, very early on. Or they might backpedal by saying something like, yes, I love you. I'm just not in love with you. So those are 5 ways that narcissists rewrite history. And they can be infuriating at best, and at worst, get you to question yourself, question your own memory. And it can really attack your sense of self and your self-esteem because you start questioning yourself before you make any decisions. You start questioning your memory and whether you can trust it, whether you can trust your own self. So if you are relatively new to learning about narcissism and you've related to anything in this video, I think you might be interested in learning a little bit more about gaslighting. So I have a little bit of an older video where I really explain gaslighting in depth and I give some examples of how it can play out in a relationship. So I'm going to link to that video right over here and I suggest you give it a watch. And if you did find this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. These things help the channel and the video, and I will see you next time.